We are now.
Awesome. Awesome. And hello to Dr. Bloomberg. How are you today, sir? Or did he not hear me? Hello, Dr. Bloomberg. Okay, so I did send the worksheet and the presentation for lesson 3 on our chat. Jason, you were the last to join. If you could please tell me that you can see them on the chat, and if not, I'll send them again.
If you could just send them to me by email, that would be preferable.
Yes, sir.
That way I don't have to go to my phone.
Yes, sir. One moment.
And I may be cutting out just because I'm at work.
No worries. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
I would have said just send it to the whole class. That's what Rabbi would do, is he would send it to us all and then put it in the chat as well.
Good thing I got a new roster today then, huh?
I know, right? Somebody was awesome that way.
Yeah, definitely. Very awesome. Okay, one moment. I'll send it to the roster group chat.
Yeah.
Any troubles with the homework? Well, the worksheets. Any questions, difficulty, something you want to refer to for clarification?
Could I ask real quick on page 4 of last week's homework?
I'll open it up with your permission.
Yeah.
Jamie, how you doing?
So were we just writing
Jamie?
the in front of like money and house?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just was wondering if I was doing it, if I was missing something.
So I almost didn't do that exercise because, yeah, adding the to every word is kind of redundant or repetitive, but I eventually went with it because I feel like practicing saying the, if you said it to yourself, ha kesef, ha monit, the money, the taxi, more repetition means more embedding it into our memory.
Awesome. Yep.
So I sending the
I
email.
can't see who that is. Hey, Martin, was that Kathy? I can't see.
Yes, sir.
Kathy? It was Kathy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was Jamie. I can't see. How you doing, Kathy?
Hi. Good. How are
good,
you?
thanks. I'm having to do this on my phone because my computer is giving me trouble. So I'm joining you on my phone. Maybe my computer will wake up soon and I can switch over to that. But this is fine.
Praise
Thanks.
God.
Thank you all for your understanding of me being in Colorado Springs. I do want to say I understand. I am the first to say that in person is the most ideal. I will try my hardest to avoid Zoom in the future. I also
do
just
what you
now,
got to do, money. Don't worry about it. We do whatever you need to do. You know, you're the teacher, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And hello, Jeff. Good evening. I did send our lesson 3 worksheet and presentation to the emailing list. So you should all have it there or in our chat here. If anyone is having trouble finding it, let me know. That being said, I will now share screen and start the class. Okay. So last week, we did the alphabet and the vowels. We spoke about it a bunch. Today, what I want to do is a refresher, so we can speak about that some more. And I want us to practice. There should be, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. There should be like a blackboard. Yeah, whiteboard. It's loading. Yeah, let's see. I should be able to type here. Maybe the other one, 1 moment. There's not working. I literally just did this a second before. Okay, so I think what I'll do is really just open my Paint and do it on Paint, which is easier. Okay. I'll share screen so you can see my Paint. 1 moment. Okay. Can everyone see my Paint page here? I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so there should be like a text box here. Yeah. Let's start. So what I do is usually I use David font. That's the font you see in all our presentations and worksheets, the David font. So yeah, let's try this, for example. I'm gonna write some letters with some vowels underneath. Let's try and read them. And then we can do some words. Okay, so now so yeah, this is the worst kamats ever. Maybe I should use the lines instead.
Aleph, Bet,
Bear with
Gimel.
me. I know it looks crap. Whatever we have, that's what we'll win with. Here's the first one. We have an aleph with a kamatz under it. Very simple. Does someone want to try reading it? How is it supposed to?
Aleph,
Sorry?
Aleph, Aleph.
So yeah, it's an aleph, but how would we read it with the vowel?
I don't. Oh.
Who said ah? Was it Jeff?
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Jason said, ah.
Yeah, so aleph with a kamatz will sound like an ah. And which leads me to our first word. We have it here. I'll write it to the side so it'll be bigger. Our first vocabulary building word of the day. Me, myself, I. Richard Stone, you mentioned it on our, I think, lesson 1. Now I want us all to learn it. So we know that an aleph with a kamatz sounds like an ah. So our first letter
Oni.
was an ah. Nice, sir. So I'm gonna add the rest of the vowels. That's a dot. So
Yeah.
in terms of vowels, it's this one. I switched to my presentation so you can see it. And I am moving my cursor on it. So that's the dot underneath called chirik. And like Sir Clarence just said, that means we will read this as ani. Like we just said, the aleph sounds like an ah. The noon with the chirik or the dot underneath it sounds like a ni. And we have the yud. It has no vowel. It is carried by the chirik. That means me or I
Or I.
myself. I. And sometimes it will be myself, but that will need a sentence next to it to give context. For the sake of right now, ani. I'll also transliterate. Okay, so A-N-double-E, that's how I would read it, ani. Ani, repeating it, ani. So that, regardless of female or male, we will all refer to ourselves as I, which means ani. Same like English. Does anyone not understand and want me to repeat that? Okay, I am continuing. Let's see here. Next word, next letter we have, my cursor is moving on it right now, is bet. Now, we don't have the emphasis in it. I will now add it. Looks bad. Let's try again. Bet. Let's try a different vowel. But this one I don't need, I can't use the line. Let's do this. Forgive my amazing drawing skills. This is one of the downsides of using Zoom, but for the sake of the matter, I will now switch to my presentation, and I mean this. I am now moving my cursor on it. Kubutz. Okay, I am now returning to our presentation. It looks bad, forgive me. Maybe I should use this actually, a brush. Yeah. So this is a lot better. And we have our dagesh, the emphasis.
Oh,
Bet. So it will be boo. Nice, sir. Very good. Let's try a different vowel. Let's say under this letter. Who can read it?
I don't see anything.
So can you see my cursor now under the tet?
Yes, okay.
And just to clarify, I will switch back to the presentation. The vowel I mean is the segol. I am now moving my cursor around.
All right, that'd be tet.
Tet. Nice. So here's the thing. If we remember from last class, there are a lot of hints we can refer to, so we can remember better. If you remember, I've been saying we need to be a little bit of detectives. And by all means, do have your Hebrew helpers next to you when practicing, when in the lesson, whatever. So one of the hints will be that the names of the vowels and the letters too, to be honest, will sound in their beginning how it is said. So we have the kamatz right here. I'm moving my cursor on it. Kamatz means it's an sound. Patach, another sound. Se re, se gol, another sound. If you remember from last class, I am moving my cursor on that. And then we have the shva. The shva literally means no vowel. So technically, the yud here in ani is carried by the yud. If it was not carried by the yud, we would add a shva. And then it will be a weird pronunciation, which means ani, just consonant. But this is a very good example to how letters carry the sound that's before them. We also see that in English. Once I think of an example, give it. And I want to continue on. Next word. So we said ani. Ani means I. I'm going to delete the shva. Now let's talk about you. Say I'm talking to a person and I'm trying to speak about him, you or her. This is our first introduction to female versus male. If you remember from our first class, Hebrew is a gendered language, and this is where it gets annoying to pick up on. I would recommend that if you're a male, remember it as a male. If you're female, try to remember the female. Here's the thing. In Israel, if you conjugate wrong, female or male, like many of the former USSR immigrants do to this day, you will still be understood. Okay, that's an important anecdote. You will still be understood if you conjugate female versus male wrong. Do try to remember your own gender, ideally both. So let's talk about you. I'm going to add the vowels. Okay, so the first one here, I'm moving my cursor above it. Does anyone want to try to read it? Nice, very good, man. Very good. Ata. That is referring to a male. You speaking to a male. So I'm going to transliterate and add the translation. No. Then transliteration is ata. Does anyone want to try reading this one underneath it?
At.
Very good, man. Very good, man. I'm gonna transliterate and add the translation. Very good. Any questions so far? So here's the thing. We see very clearly here in front of us. Let's, for example, the ata. We have our vowels that we have learned. Kamatz under the aleph, patach under the ta. Ata. The hey in this sense is carried by the kamatz of the ta, so it's ata. Remember, hey, just like an H, is kind of a hollow sound. It's a ha, ha, ha. So it's hard to, it doesn't get an emphasis, for example. It's impossible. Below, what we're seeing, as we said, at, in this sense, the taf is not carried by this vowel. So technically, as we hear it, at. So the taf, equivalent to T, is a consonant here. It serves as a consonant. So at, t, it's a consonant. So technically, though, because it's an end of the word, we don't add it, but there's a shva here. So at. But you will not see it with the shva. This is, I'm just exaggerating so you will better understand. Any questions? Okay, so repeating, when I want to talk about myself, I want to refer to myself, I say ani, that means me or I or myself, which will differ upon context, but it will forever mean I, and then the context will add on to that. Second word, ata, speaking to a male. I will say to Jeff, ata. I will say to you, Sir Clarence, ata. I will say to you, Dr. Bloomberg, ata. To the females of us, I will say at. So Phyllis, Kathy, at. This is me just literally saying you. Any questions so far? Or should I continue? I'm gonna clear my paint and start in a fresh white page. So if anyone did not write down, let me know and I will stop.
So Matani,
Yes,
if
sir.
I was to address you, I would say Ataha Moshe.
Yes, sir. But here's the thing, you always, so I noticed your biblical Hebrew is very good, sir. Specifically you, Sir Clarence. Your biblical Hebrew is very good.
Thank you.
Sometimes that's a strength, sometimes it isn't.
It's a weakness.
It's a good thing. By all means, let's build on top of it.
Would that be correct in Israel, though?
It would be, sir.
Ataha Moshe?
Hamoshia, yeah. So the savior, you meant?
No, Moshe, Moses, Moshe.
Ataha Moshe? No, I
Yeah.
would say Ata Moshe. You are Moses.
Yeah, Ataha Moshe.
Let's write it down. Let's write it down. So you're trying to acknowledge you are the Moses, right?
Right. You are the Moses. Ataha Moshe.
So here's how I would say it in Hebrew. If I want to just say you're Moses, I would say Ata Moshe.
Okay.
For this, I will add the vowels. If I want to say you are the Moses, I will say Ata Ha Moshe. And let's add.
Okay.
I will add
Okay.
the.
And that ha means something different, like say, oh, so you are the Moshe, Ataha Moshe. Whereas Atah Moshe is, oh, okay, you're the Moshe. You're Moshe.
Yeah. I mean, the difference here is really just how you say it, you know? But I do want to refer to one thing we learned last class, and this is a good opportunity to refresh. So Moses is kind of an irregular word in Hebrew because, well, before that, we have our acknowledging hey hayediah. This is how we acknowledge something. So ha laptop, the laptop, table, the table, ha shulchan. I want to write it down. But before that, Moses. So as we see, I wrote the dot here over the sheen on the right. That means the sheen sounds like a sh, so an sh. Where is the o coming from then? Where is the mo, she coming from? Is the question. And let me tell you, this is one of those occasions where we will have a missing vowel. This is a dot, I'm exaggerating it. I'm going to go back to the presentation to explain. So we have the cholam. I am moving my cursor on it. As you can see, it comes with a vav. And we spoke about this and said that vav often has either the shuruk or the cholam. I'm moving my cursors next to them. And that gives them their sound. This is an irregular. We see it in other words, but Moses is probably the best example. We will not see it a lot because what's happening here is a missing cholam, what in Hebrew we will refer to as cholam chaser. So a missing cholam. Going back to my paint. So technically here, after the mem in Moshe, Moses, there will be a missing cholam, a dot above it that will not refer to the sheen. Remember from last class, I told you we will read without vowels. But if there's a word that there's another word that sounds close to it or its spelling is close to it, then in order to remove doubt, we will add the vowel or spell it longer to pass the meaning. If you remember, last time I gave you an example here. Yeah. I didn't get to the slide again yet. What I want to show you is really this. If you remember examples, dugmaot, we have under the dalid, the kubutz. But here's the thing. Me as an Israeli, I will read without vowels. So what I will write, is this. Okay, I will add the vav to compensate for me not using vowels. And this way, an Israeli will understand it. He will read it and understand what I'm trying to say. Whereas, we will see it like this with the kibbutz. So, dugmaot, examples, we referred to this last class. I will say this, as you can see, we have an emphasis on the dalid. That's technically how it's spelled. We will not spell it with an emphasis. If you remember, that's one of those functions that we lost. The reason why I have it here is because when I use this to add vowels, it automatically corrects me, as you can see, because Israelis, we have embedded mistakes in order to gap and speak easier. So it will be like this. Any questions so far before I move on? Awesome. So I will go back to my presentation. And now I want to talk about two things I will attempt to teach today that are new material. So today I want us to exercise the correct use of vowels and letters and the and trend hey. Before we do that, I need to teach you two new words. I will start a new paint page here. The first one, the first word is right, meaning the direction, right, like the right-hand side. That will be yamin. I will add the, wait a minute. That's faster. Yamin, which means right, that direction. Next word is, guessed it, left. And here we see another missing cholam. And we have our famous sin. So the sheen with the dot on the left side, which means s, like a samech, like an S. And then we have here the aleph with a dot above it. This word is an irregular. I can try explaining why it's like that. But I would rather very much that you will just remember we have a missing cholam here. We have the dot here, so the missing cholam. Oh, maybe I should. Do this. Is this better? Can you see better this way? I will add. Oh.
So would you pronounce that brother as small?
Small, yeah, small.
Small yamin.
Yeah, we will also. This will also refer to other stuff we will try to explain with right or left. So, for example, politics. The right will be hayamin. So hayamin, or the left, in terms of speaking politics, will be hasmol. So you will always hear people arguing politics, for example, saying, hayamin, or hasmol. The left, the right, whatever. So you'll also see it like that.
All right.
Any questions about this?
One question on, Yamin, right?
Yes, sir.
The last letter, is that, by our worksheet, is that the final none?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Very, very good.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Oh,
So,
to make sure we identify that final none correct,
Yes, sir.
what would be the difference between Vav?
so Vav will be shorter. Let me write it down so you can see it in front of you.
Mhm.
This will be the noon, and this will be the Vav. See,
Ah.
so
Okay, good. So we have a length difference. I see it now on your sheet.
Mhm.
Okay.
In class, I tried to exaggerate it more. As we can see on the fonts, it's not as clear. Thank you for that clarification, sir. Here's the thing. So now we know right, yamin, and we know small, left. I am going back to the presentation. So now I want to speak about trends. And note the mem here, the emphasis does not do anything. As I said, it keeps correcting me on my vowel. So a trend. This is one of those things we will use a lot in Hebrew. Giving directions, asking for directions. Very common, very common. It's very common to just roll down your window and just yell to someone, oh, how do I get to wherever? I'll say, oh, okay, take the second right, take the third left or whatever. But it will not be yamin or small. When we speak about yamin or small, right or left, it really means very empty right or left. If we want you to say, oh, take a right, it will change. In English, it does not. Right will still be right. Left will still be left. In Hebrew, it will change. And as we can see from our description here, adding a hey to the end of a word will make it, at least in terms of directional words, will make it a trend. So for example, if I want to instruct person, turn right, this is how it will be. Lifnot yamina, yamina. And as you can see, our vowels change. So whereas yamin, going back to my paint, will be just like this with a patach and a chirik. When it's a trend or right words, that's the closest I was able to translate it. It will be yamina. Let's apply it to left, small. It will be smola. Lifnot yamina means to turn right. I'll add the transliteration here. Lifnot yamina. Okay. So turning right, lifnot yamina. Turning left will be lifnot smola. Okay, I'm gonna add it to the paint so it won't be as disorganized. So we had small, it will be small, smaller. Yamina will be this. And as you can see, the vowel it itself completes me. So maybe I'll send it to you at home too, so you can have it. Yeah. Yamina. So Lifnot. Yamina is to turn rightwards. Just as easily you can understand it as right, but because it's a trend, the closest I could translate it to English is rightwards. So to signal a trend. Lifnot smola, to turn left. Questions thus far?
Can you define trend more, please?
Yes, ma'am. So let's say I want to go. Let's say I want to go home. Okay. I decide I want to go home, and I decide I want to talk about it. Okay, not just in my heart. So my destination is home. In Hebrew, it's adding the hey kind of gives it an infinite form. So yamin will literally be right. Yamina will be right words. There's another example. We have it here. So left or right, that's the easiest. We can also use it at other locations, like home. Home is habaita. Let me increase it so you can see better. Maybe I should do it on Paint, actually. So bite will mean house. Habait, the house. And then, if I want to say to home or I'm going home, it'll be habaita. Oh.
Is there always a verb associated with it then?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Sometimes I'll be like, let's say we've been to the Shalom dinner and everyone left and we're the only ones there because we're having a good time. I can look at you and say, habaita? Meaning, let's go home, habaita? Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yeah, kind of. It's the verbs are inferred in that sentence and in that context.
Yes, so here's the thing. To add to what you said, we will have what's called the root of any word, and then it will have its add-ons. That is something I want to get to later. Maybe now is a good time to mention it. Going back to my Paint, we can see the first word, bite, that's the root of it. Bet, yud, tough. Adding add-ons to it like hey will change the meaning. Hey and another hey will change that. Those are conjugations. It's not dependent on a verb in that sense, but we need to know how to use it. I do want to ask Kathy if I cleared up your question because I feel like I may have not. Okay.
That wasn't my question. I think that was the other ladies.
Yeah, Kathy Fagan.
Oh, sorry. I forgot there's two
No
Kathys
worries.
in the class.
No worries, ma'am. So yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. The obvious ones will be right, left, yamina, smola. But yeah, you will also have more interesting ones like habaita, or in biblical times, you would see it a lot more. And especially in the Torah, you'll see, went to Egypt. Halach Mitzrayma. Let's write it down. Egypt, when we want to say Egypt,
That's right.
this is Egypt. Okay, Mitzrayim. I'm going to make it bigger. Mitzrayim. Okay, that means Egypt. Mitzrayma, and as you can see, our mem, because it's no longer a final mem, we added a hey, it goes back to its middle of the sentence, middle of the word form. And we will have the same, a trend hey, Mitzrayma. Mitzrayma, let's make it bigger. We don't use it anymore. We don't. I will not say, oh, I want to go to, let's say, Yerushalayim. We know Jerusalem as Yerushalayim. Another example would be Yerushalayim. No? Yeah, so I'm going to try my hardest to not do Zoom anymore. I apologize for this. For the sake of right now, Mitzrayim means to Egypt. And Jerusalem, as we can see, Yerushalayim, will also be Yerushalayim. And we can see again that the final mem became regular mem because we added a hey. What is important about this that I want you to remember? Definitely the right and left. If we're ever lost in Israel and want to ask for directions, those are crucial terms. So right, yamina or yamin, small or smola, left or leftwards. Being in Israel, you use it almost every day. That's about it as of now. Questions so far? Okay, in that sense, I wanted to go back to my presentation and we can do some words. Yeah, I actually had it here, huh? Oh, and yeah, Habaita will be homewards or to home. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem words or Egypt words. So meaning I want to go to Egypt. I'm going to Egypt, Jerusalem, whatever. Let's go to different examples. First one, we have the transliteration, achora. Achora means behind. Behind, let's say, yeah, just behind, to be honest. Kadima, forward. And then we have our northeast, whatever. And as you can see, north, Safona, northward. South, Daroma, so southward. And then a word many of you may recognize. We know Mizrahi, Jew, but when we say Mizracha, we mean eastwards. And yeah, that comes from the Orient, so we mean the east. Again, Mizracha, eastwards, a similar conjugation is Mizrahi, which means Easterner, Jew, for example. And then the final one, we have westward, Ma'arava. Here we can see very well the functionality of ayin. If you remember, I told you last class, it's very throaty. And here's where we see it in our first two letters of Ma'arava, which means westwards. The first letter, mem, with a patach, sounds like ma. Ma. Ayin with another patach, forget the two dots, is also ah. So we have a situation here where this is ma a ra va. Ma'arava. A lot of A vowels, a lot of A sounds. Ma'arava. Just an anecdote, Morocco is referred to as Ma'arab in Arabic, Ma'arab. It's don't have to remember it, but if in Hebrew Ma'arav means west, in Arabic it's Ma'arab. So the Morocco is literally called the West. Okay, Maghreb, that's how it's called in Arabic. We often say it here in Israel. Well, in Israel, us Moroccans, I think we're the biggest ethnic group in Israel. So yeah, Ma'arava, I wanted to point it out. Note that this is not natural to English. This is not a vowel use that's natural to English. We need to adopt it. And if you listen to the music, listen and watch the movies, you will hear it a lot of that builds a word. Questions so far? I do want to do this real quick. So these are the examples with the trend. I want to add the non-trend for. So this is just back, behind. Kadima will stay that way. And then the directions actually change. So north will be Tzafon. We added the hey to it. Daroma will be Darom. We hear that a lot, especially now, for example, because the south, we know what's going on. Mizrach. And then Ma'arav. So I'm going to say it real quick without the haze. Remember, these examples give us the trend. So if I want to go northwards, I will say Tzafona. Or if I want to go southwards, I will say Daroma. Naked, if I just want to refer to it, then north or south in general, it will be Tzafon or Darom. So we lose that trend hey. And in transliteration, it will be Tzafon, Darom. Darom. Let's make it smaller. Mizrach. And here you see, actually, so Mizrachi is a conjugation of referring to a someone. But Mizrach means literally east. Westward, Ma'arav. And this is how I note it. I will add an apostrophe. That is probably the most common transliteration. Sometimes it won't be there when it's someone else transliterating. Keep in mind, transliteration is flawed.
Matani, I have a question.
Please.
You keep referring to conjugating nouns. For those of us who know like Romance languages, we're used to conjugating verbs, not nouns. So in Hebrew, are both nouns and verbs conjugated?
Great question, ma'am. Great question. Yes, ma'am. That's the answer. here's the thing. They will conjugate for the most part the same. What we want to remember is that every word will have a root. Okay? Every word, regardless of it's a noun, it's a verb, whatever. We have many conjugations. That's the thing. Female, male, occupation, direction, plural, singular. It's a lot, unfortunately. A lot of it I did remove. We're not going to do all of it. Yes, ma'am. All words can conjugate, depending on context. Does that answer?
Yep.
And I have oh yeah, we have a comment here from James Greenbean. Nouns are declined or declension. Verbs are declined. I don't know what allative is.
Neither do
Maybe
I.
So here's the thing, we will not have a distinction for it in Hebrew. When I say conjugate, I will mean that too. In English, there is a difference, I'm assuming. So yeah, for the sake of what James Greenbean said, nouns are declined. I will refer to it as conjugated because it changes its original form.
Okay.
Does that answer everyone?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. I am continuing. So I'm not gonna do slide 8. I'm gonna do slide 9 first. So we learned ani, I, speaking about myself, that will be the same for female and male. And then we said, referring to a you, right? So speaking to a male, it'll be ata. Speaking to a female, it'll be at. Now, how do I say you and I? Ani, ata. This is what I want to get to. Particle and, how do we say and in Hebrew? The answer is very simple, and it actually is the same in Turkish, as you can see it here. Ve. Now you might ask, but here we have the shva, which means no vowel, and you will be right. But here's the thing. When in Israelis, as I told you, we slur, we swallow words, and we kind of exaggerate some of the sounds. So technically, this will be a v. We read it as a ve, simply because of reading it fast. So for example, ani and you, you and I, let's write it down on paint, will be ani va ata ve'ata. Ani ve'ata. Okay, so we see our and here. Ani ve'ata. We have another example on our presentation that I'm going to go back to. Me and the kids. Ani ve hayeladim, and we have here our acknowledging hey at the same time. Ani ve ha yeladim, me and the kids. So as we see, the further we try to relay, the more we try to relay, the more constructs or add-ons the words will have. And this is where we have to be a little bit detectives, because English, for the most part, It does have add-ons, but as we can see, and the are separate words that we add in order to do that function. In Hebrew, it will be an add-on. So in this case, really just two letters. Ani, Vav, Hey, Veha, Yeladim. Questions about that? Let's try different examples. Let's try Ani, Ve, Jeff. Now Jeff is foreign, so I need to actively vowel it because it does not recognize it. Ani, Ve, Jeff. Here we see our J that does not exist in Hebrew with the apostrophe. Remember, we have the gimel that's technically equivalent to a G. Adding an apostrophe to it will make it a J sound. It won't be a J, it'll be J. So if I want to say Jeff and I, Ani, the Jeff. Let's try another name. Ani, Kathy and I. Ani, the Kathy. It actually did recognize it. Ani, ve Kathy. Note that the emphasis on the taf means nothing. That's how it won't let me remove it. We do not have th in Hebrew. So as I said, we will add the apostrophe here to the taf. And it'll be Kathy or Kathy. Ani ve Kathy. Let's try another name. Ani, or you know what? Phyllis ve'ani. Need to edit the vowels. Phyllis ve'ani. As you can see, our pay does not have the emphasis in it, which makes it sound like an F. We have the chiriks, so Phyllis, Phyllis, va'ani. Here's the thing, and this gives me a very good anecdote. Before that, questions so far. So we were talking about how tonality is important. And here we have a perfect example. So as you can see, because the aleph has the patach underneath it, it will be, well, as we know it, ani. But because I started on the last, so instead of ani with Phyllis, I did Phyllis and I. The vav will most often match the first letter, vowel. Again, most often the vav will match the first letter's vowel. In this case, va'ani. Why did we not see it here? Because Kathy and Jeff are not in Hebrew. But it's a tonality thing. So, ani, Phyllis va'ani. You can barely hear it on the tonality. So for example, ani ve'Jeff, ani ve'Kathy, Phyllis va'ani. Did you hear a difference?
Say that again.
Ani ve'Jeff, Jeff and I, or me and Jeff. It's not. So me and Jeff. Ani ve'Kathy. So me and Kathy. Phyllis va'ani. I will say, this is how the voweler automatically completes me, which means this will still be, like here, I'm gonna add it below. This will still be the same. Filis ve'ani is the same as filis va'ani. Okay, the difference is the tonality. To be honest with you, if you remember just ve, that's enough. Know that it's there. Know that the tonality matters. It matters in the flow of speaking. This is one example. For the sake of what I want you to remember, I'm going back to my presentation. Here, let's make it bigger. So I said beseder, and which means all right. So everything's all right. Beseder. Does everyone understand so far?
Yes.
Someone have any questions?
Matani, can I ask you a question?
Please do, sir.
Where you was at before this here, you said velta,
Here?
no, vani velta.
Yeah.
That means velta ani velta. That means I am who I am.
It means
Velta,
me and you. It means me and you, sir.
me and you.
So
Okay.
the ve here is and. Okay, so
Oh.
ani ve'ata, me and you.
You, okay.
Yeah. Does that clarify, sir?
Yes, sir. I had to go answer the door. There was someone at the door.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for asking, sir. Let's practice a little bit. So we have and, we have trend and acknowledging hey that we have learned today in last lesson. Let's try some other words. I think I have some examples on my. Well, let's do some other names because I realized today that I never gave you your names in Hebrew. So we did just do Phyllis and Jason and Jeff and Kathy. Let's do James and Richard and all of the rest. No? Sorry, I also have your cameras in front of me and I always need to move it. Let's do other names. So, let's begin. I'm going to go to my vowler. Let's say James. We have our gimel, and we already know for a j sound, we need an apostrophe. I am going to add a vowel. J, James, it's like a j. So, sere, j. And here we see our W'd. So here's the thing. I will not read this as James. I will read this as James. 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 The difference is really how we speak the words. No, there's James and James. Here, the double U's provide us, instead of an I like we've been talking about, rather than a Y. So it will actually be, this is how we read it, because James does not exist in Hebrew. James is the closest we can get. Does that make sense, Green Bean? Okay. Let's do Richard. So Richard, again, does not exist in Hebrew. It'll be Richard. And then we have the tzaddik with an apostrophe, which makes it sh. Yeah, it actually did complete it. Richard. So it'll actually not be Richard, it'll be Richard. That's the closest we can get. Or literally Richard. So I can also do, instead of Richard, and this really depends on who you'll speak to, I can also do Richard, depending on what you will prefer. But yeah, we do not have Richard, we will have Richard. Does that, can you hear the difference?
Mhm.
And if we remember this picture, have you ever wanted to see what it would be like to read English with Hebrew vowels? We said it sounds familiar from someone. But yeah, that's exactly the sound I'm trying to get you to catch, because it's really not James in Hebrew. It'll be James. It's not Phyllis in Hebrew. It'll be Phyllis. It won't be Jason in Hebrew. It'll be Jason, because our vowels are different. And we are trying to get as close as possible to English in that sense, because your names are in English, or English names. Any questions so far before I am continuing on to another tiny but important material?
Can you do my name? No.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry.
No Dayog.
Yes, sir. Immediately. So again, Clarence doesn't exist in Hebrew. What we will have is Clarence. So Clarence. And I'll need to manually add the vowels. What?
As you doing that, Matani,
Sorry?
while you doing that, what does Nogah Dayog translate as?
Can you write it down, sir? Because I'm not sure I'm hearing it right.
Well, I don't know how to do it on the computer, but it's Nog Nogah Nogah Dayog, fisher of men, Dayog.
Like this?
Yes, I believe it translated into bright fishermen of men, fisher of men.
Sir, this is an example of where I don't want you to stick to biblical Hebrew.
Oh, okay, okay.
You got this word right in an Ashkenazi.
Yes.
So we can see the O. We spoke about it when we spoke about Shabbos. This is Ashkenazi. So Dayog, Shabbos, all of that, we don't say that. It's only the Ashkenazi, and in Israel, it will only be the Yiddish speaking people.
Okay,
So
okay.
Dayag, just because you brought it up, Dayag means fisherman.
Right.
I don't know what Noga means.
Nogah means bright and illuminating. Nogah.
I'm not sure I know that word, sir. If you have it in Hebrew and want to show it to me, maybe I'll understand it better. But for the sake of right now, Dayag is fisherman. I don't want to confuse us too much.
Right,
Going
right,
back
right.
to your name, sir. There should be a shva. I didn't let me add it for some reason. K la re n s. So if I'm going to read this using my Hebrew helper, the kuf will be okay. K la re n s. So Clarence. There's no Clarence, there's Clarence. Does that answer, sir?
Yes, yes.
Let's see, I get
Perfect.
names. Let's see.
Perfect.
And Carol and, well, Amber and Rick and Stephanie, let's do those. So, Stephanie. Me. Stephanie. And it's not Stephanie, it's really, wait, no, this is the wrong, oh, one moment. This should be Shiva. No? Yeah. Reading it with our Hebrew helper, I will read it. Stephanie. Stephanie. Okay? And I will actually transliterate it to Stephanie. That's how we will read it. Amber, Rick. Amber and Rick, Verik. Amber Verik. Amber Verik. So it's Amber Verik. There's no Rick or Amber. There's Amber and Rick. So really, unfortunately for you, Rick, it's kind of like Rick. But so Amber Verik. And who did I forget? Carol and David. Oh, Jason Bloomberg, you raised your hand, sir. Jason?
Yes, I did. Some of us actually have Hebrew names.
Oh, if you want me to do your Hebrew name, by all means.
That we're called to Torah by. I was thinking, you're going to be will you be in person next week?
I am needed, but I'm going to do my hardest to come. I'll need to get back to you.
Because there's a card file that has our Hebrew names in Ivri. I mean, I can go by memory, but I might mess this up a bit. Phyllis is Ahuva Riva Bat Benjamin Vaselma.
Okay, that's actually a very beautiful name.
It is, for a very beautiful woman.
So here's the thing. Do you want us to do it real quick, ma'am? So it's Ahuva. What was it? Ahuva Riva?
Ahuva Riva.
Yeah.
Bat Benjamin.
Bat Benjamin.
Vaselma.
And Salma, you said?
Yeah, I believe it's Selma.
Yeah.
Okay. Ahuva Riva Bat Benjamin. So it's Benjamin, right? Benjamin.
Yeah.
So it's actually not like this. It's Benjamin. Visalma. You can see it right, like this, right? On my vowler. Okay. Ahuva, which means beloved. Riva, which means plenty. So plenty beloved, daughter of Benjamin and Salma, or Binyamin Vasalma.
What does Reva mean?
It's like there's many translations. I will understand it as plenty, like a lot.
It's my middle name.
Who said that? Sorry?
It's my middle name.
Abundant. Yeah, it means like abundance, plenty.
Yeah, like abundance, a plenty.
Yeah, like Toda Rabbah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Abundance, plenty.
And well said, sir. Well, nice that you're noticing. It is actually the same root of the word if we are gonna.
Yes. Yes.
So Rabbah, Resh, Bet, Hey, we have this is a
Daughter.
congregation that we do not want to get into, but yeah. Plenty, abundance. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
I forgot Carol and
Oh,
Dave.
did you want mine?
Please,
It's a long one.
by all means.
Raphael Michael Ben Ariel Vishirush, I'm sorry, Vishira Yerushalayim.
That's actually pretty beautiful, sir.
Thank you.
Shirat. Yerushalayim.
Shira,
Say that again,
not
sir.
Shira, not Shirat.
Okay, so Shira with a hey at the end. Shira, Yerushalayim. So Raphael, Michael, Ben Ariel, Veshira, Yerushalayim.
And this is a cultural linguistic translation of my name in American English into Ivri by taking the meanings of the names and putting it using the cultural form of son of, and then adapting the meaning of my last name.
Thank you for sharing, sir. It's a beautiful name. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I do want to do Carol and David real quick. So Carol and David, let's do it with a V. Carol, let's change that. Carol, V, David. So here we see the Vav serving as a V on your name, David. David. Carol ve David. So as you can see, your name, David, is really, I would write it like this in terms of transliteration. No? David. So there's that actor on Snowpiercer on Netflix, David Diggs, or the guy from Hamilton. That's actually how you say David, David. And Carol, because it's not in Hebrew, it's Kerol. So the closest we can get to is Kerol. Two quick things I want to do in our last 10 minutes is really just a few quick two-letter words. Oh, that's, yeah. No? Okay. So, to expand our vocabulary, we have Ken, which means yes.
Lo.
We have lo, and here we see the missing cholam as well. So lo. And the reason behind this one is actually if we add the vav instead, it will be a different word. So lo.
No. You're cutting out, brother. I can't hear you.
I'm trying to transliterate the English and Hebrew on this or backwards.
Oh, okay. Means
no.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, forgive me. It's not in the same order. I'm trying to work with this.
That's
here.
okay. That's okay. We understand. Matai.
Yeah, nice. Very well, sir. So these are yes and no. Very, very simple. And then we have a few simple It just doesn't do it right. These are question words. So I'm trying to add as you can see, I'm trying to add the question mark, and it's annoying me.
Take your time. Don't get nervous. It's computer.
No, it's definitely less than ideal than in person. I will definitely try avoiding this as much as possible. Matai, which means when. Ma, which means what. Lama, so we have ma, which means what. Lama, or exactly like you would say llama, except without the American accent. Lama, it will be the animal, and why. Or the actual llama. So llama is with 2 L's, right? I think.
Yes.
The animal?
Yes.
Yeah, this will also be the animal, but it will also be why.
And if they was going to say the llama, Matani, they put a dot in between that L, right in that L. That means a double L. They put a dot where the L llama, they put a dot in that L. That means a double L llama. If they was going to say an animal, llama. Right there, yeah, that dot.
Yeah, so I would see people, what I saw people do is, in order to exaggerate it, they would add an aleph, llama, to exaggerate it.
Yeah.
Good point, sir. Good point. Which leads me to the final question word. Let's see that it works. Kama, how much, or how many?
How many?
So it's both. It can be either how much or how many. Okay. Let's say you're in a store in Israel and you found a nice menorah, for example. You can look at the shopkeeper and say, "Kama, how much?" And he will say 50 shekel, 50 shekel, 20 shekel, 30 shekel, however it costs. Questions?
$20.
Sorry, sir.
I'm talking to myself as you talk, like $15, $20, $30.
So, this is so far. We only have 5 minutes left. I did want to dedicate our last 5 minutes for a couple of things. First, I wanted to show you what our currency looks like in its international, what it looks like. So if the dollar, for example, looks like an S with a line on it, this is what a new Israeli shekel will look like. And I want to write it down on paint so you can understand. I'll just do it to next. We remember Sheen. We also said it can be like this. And we had Chet. Forgive my awkward writing. The shekel in the way, and its emblem is Shin and Chet. Shekel Chadash. Chadash means new. Let's write it down.
Kadasha. New, holy.
Valor. Dash.
It comes from the root, holy, kadosh.
Kadosh is different, sir. That's with it's spelled different. For the sake of right now, I'll write it down. A lot of people mix up the ch and kuf. So I noticed that on Kara, for example, the H, the CH, and KH always get mixed up when reading or listening. Just because you brought it up, I want to write it down. Kadosh, which means holy. That's how we write it down. Okay, Kadosh. Chadash, new. And this is why our currency looks like this, or better put in the picture, like this. Shin, shekel, chet, chadash, new shekel. Okay, shekel, chadash. Any questions so far? Okay, so I want to apologize. This class did not go as smooth as can be. To be honest, I'm glad the Wi-Fi was strong enough to actually let me teach from here. I'll do my best to teach all of our classes in person. However,
brother, if you can't teach in person and you got a job or something you have to do important, teach by the. I'm willing to do it by computer and online. Don't worry about it. Don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty or whatever. You know, I like it like this. If you have to do it like this, you know, at least you're committed and you're willing to do it at least like this. You know, praise God. Baruch Hashem.
Oh, Hashem. Well, thank you very much for saying that, sir. I will say I am committed to this congregation. I will do my utmost to make this better. I apologize. This was not ideal or on the level you are used to. I hope this was still okay.
It was wonderful.
It was fine. Are you going to be sending out worksheets for this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So here's the thing. So I did send out our presentation and worksheet, right, at the beginning of the class. Yeah, I think I did.
Did I miss it?
Sorry?
I might have missed it. I didn't remember seeing it.
I emailed it, I emailed it. I'll do it again. I'll do it right now.
There should be an email, Phyllis. I got an email right when we started.
Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, I got it. I got
Okay.
it too.
All right.
Matani, I'm going to be a dissenting voice here. I think everybody wants to be supportive and express how deeply we all appreciate you teaching. But I think if the scheduling becomes regular where your job is in conflict with this, maybe the class needs to move to a different day of the week and time. Because I think the learning experience is better in person when possible.
I agree, sir.
That's my recommendation. I think you're doing as well as can be done, but if you really want people to get the maximum out of it, it should be in person whenever possible.
Yes, sir. I completely agree. As I said, I will do my utmost to never repeat this unless we have snow, which I can't control. Yeah, I agree completely, sir.
Can I say something?
Please do.
I appreciate everybody's opinion, and sometimes we can't help what circumstances bring to us. Hashem blesses us in the position that we are in. Like I work all the time. Sometimes I can't make it to class, but I try my best. If you can only do it because of snow or weather, or if you can only do it because you have a job, and your job, you have to make a livelihood. Your job is more important, even though this class is important. The job is more important because you have to make a livelihood for your family. I'm understanding. I don't know if anybody else is. I am understanding and do what you have to do, and I'll do it by computer and by Zoom. Because like I said, sometimes I might not be able to make it here because of my job. I work constantly. So don't feel guilty and don't feel that you gotta do it in person. However you can do it, however Hashem blesses you and allows you to do it, we're thankful. I'm thankful anyway. So Baruch
Thank you very much,
Hashem.
sir. I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. With your permission, I'd like to stop that discussion right here because I believe in doing it in person. We do have both, as you can see, but I believe in doing it in person. That's what I set out to do, and I'm gonna try my hardest to do exactly that.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem 1,000 times. Thank you all for your feedback, for your wanting, for learning. Spasiba, bratan, James Green Bean. Thank you to all.
Wow.
I will send you more music playlists in another worksheet I've been working on that's better than the one you already have. That'll probably all be tomorrow evening or Thursday. Unfortunately, forgive me. Yeah, that's about it. Please listen to the music, watch the movies, watch the series. That will help us catch the difference in tonality, which a lot of times makes us not understand. If no one has any questions, I am done. Stephanie, we can stop the recording, ma'am.
In case I don't see you again, Shabbat Shalom, Matne.
Shabbat Shalom to you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Stephanie.